Greetings everyone, thank you for joining me for this video today. Some people may not know on the channel, but I am a massive, amazing, enormous fan of The Walking Dead. Have been since the age of 13 or 14. So I jumped on to the television show around halfway through season 4. And I jumped on to reading the comics from, I think, volume 17 or 18, so just after that big Lucille death, if you know what I'm talking about. And I've been a die-hard fan of The Walking Dead as a franchise ever since. The comics, the TV show, the games, everything. And 2019, the comics actually rounded up with its final volume, volume 32. And since then, I've gone back to the start of the comics and read through from volume 1 all the way through to 32. And now, it is finally time, now that I've read through all of them, to go through my personal top 10 favourite Walking Dead comics volumes, not the individual issues, the actual volumes of all time, the top 10. Obviously we'll be taking into account my own personal opinion, but there will be a lot of just analytical, yes, this is an amazing volume because, you know, XYZ. So obviously, if you haven't read the comics already, spoiler warning, what are you still doing here? If you haven't read the comics, then get out of here. Unless you don't care and you just want it spoiled, then fine. On your own head be it, I guess. So yes, at the number 10 spot, we have volume 27, The Whisperer War. I think this volume is beautifully done. Just look at the cover. That just says everything you need to know. It's amazing. The fight between Beta and Negan in this is absolutely brilliant. This is the perfect sort of like climactic battle for the Whisperers. The volume follows after the fallout after Negan killing Alpha. Such a brilliant volume, just so much shit happens. I love the moment where Negan breaks Lucille over Beta's back and he goes absolute ape shit. It's so funny. And I love how Dwight and Negan are working together again finally in this one. And obviously we see the hilltop getting burnt to the ground, which is another very mind-blowing moment. You never expected the hilltop to be burnt to the ground, but here it is. You see it in this. And it's heartbreaking for Maggie to see. It's such a great volume. I highly recommend this one. Highly recommend it. And the Whisperers are at their scariest in this. I absolutely love this volume. It is a brilliant one. And that's why it's in the number 10 spot. Right, number 9. We have volume 20. All Out War Part 1. This is the best way to start a story arc. It's literally starting with a bang. It's just Rick and the gang finally attacking Negan after 3 or 4 volumes of them being just pushed to their lowest because of Negan's leadership and empire that he's built up. And Rick and the gang finally, you know, stand up and they face them, and they did this storyline so dirty in the show. Holy crap. When people said, oh, All Out War in the TV show is going to be so good, this is why they thought so. It's a shame it didn't live up to it, but at least in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, this is the good shit. This is where it's at. If you're after some high energy action, just jam-packed with thrills, it's brilliant. Obviously, you see it's a great moment where Negan is gone and throwing grenades over the walls of Alexandria and everything's being blown up, and Heath gets his legs completely blown to smithereens, bless him, and Holly gets sacrificed. It's such a jam-packed thing all the way through. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. Such a jam-packed volume. I love this one so much. I always go back to this one if I'm just after some fun skim reading of some action, you know. If I'm after an action-packed volume with mindless just excitement, this is the one to go for. I think this is brilliant stuff. Alright, at the number 8 spot, this is the one that everybody remembers and what everyone wants you to get to. If a mate of yours ever recommends for you to read the Walking Dead comics, you need to at least get to this volume. Something to Fear, volume 17. Everyone remembers this one. Just tensions building throughout the whole thing. Obviously, Dwight is becoming a more prominent character and he's like, who's he working for? And Dwight kills Abraham just out of the blue, point blank. And you're like, what? How do they kill off Abraham like that? It's such an exciting, thrilling moment. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. No one is really safe in this volume. And then they get attacked by a gang of saviors. And then they meet the man himself. They meet Negan for the first time for that iconic moment where he sits them down in a row and they line him up, and Negan plays a little game of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and Glenn loses. He bludgeons Glenn's head in with fucking Lucille over here. It's heartbreaking. It's so sad. This volume pulls no punches. It's so action. It's so thrilling all the way through. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. But up until this point, Glenn was like the second main character of the series behind Rick. And seeing Glenn just get brutally beaten to death in this is just utterly heartbreaking. Heartbreaking stuff, honestly. All right. At the 7th spot, we have volume 28, A Certain Doom. All I need to do is show you the back here, that back photo. Rest in fucking peace, Andrea. Holy shit. Andrea was one of those characters that you thought would survive to the end, but no, they kill her off in this one. And oh my god, it's so sad. They draw this out for the tears as much as they humanly can. And it's so heartbreaking for Rick and for Carl and for Michonne and for everybody. Andrea was from the first ever volume of the series, and they just kill her off in this, you know? And it's not from the Whisperers, it's not from a gunshot, it's from a fucking bite from a zombie. And it's so heartbreaking seeing her deteriorate over the next, like, final pages of this. It is so sad. Seeing Rick just broken down to his weakest at the end of it is just so sad, honestly. And obviously, that's the main highlight of it, but I cannot go without mentioning how exciting this is all the way through, because this goes from the fallout of the Whisperer War, where the Whisperers have mostly been wiped out. I think Beta's in this, but I think he's only in there for one scene where Aaron and Jesus meet him and they defeat him, basically. I think that's all it is. But the fallout from the Whisperer War, you see it here, because the giant, you know, walker herd that the Whisperers have been mounting up and charging straight through the gates of Alexandria, it's just a sea. It's just a sea. It's a natural disaster. It's a bloody post-apocalyptic nuke, and the zombie horde just swamps straight through Alexandria, and I love the stuff they do with Rick and Negan in this, because Rick has to rely on Negan to look after him, because obviously Rick at this stage, he's only got one arm and he's got a broken leg, so what is Rick going to be able to do to defend himself? He has to trust Negan to help him, and that's such a great dynamic. I love when Robert Kirkman pairs all of these characters together for these survival sort of moments. And obviously meanwhile you have the gang trying to, you know, round up the zombies and get them out of Alexandria before everyone in Alexandria gets completely just murdered, just brutally ripped apart. And we do see a few casualties in there, but most of them are B-list or C-list characters, apart from obviously at the end where Andrea is just herding, like, you know, a few zombies towards the, like, cliff or whatever, and she just gets bitten, you know, out of the blue. You don't expect it. It's just suddenly there. Ooh, there you go. Oh shit, I'm bitten. Fuck, you know. And obviously when the horde leaves before the big revelation that Andrea's bitten, you have the kind of conclusion to, like, the revolt against like the saviors, because obviously the saviors were gonna rebel against Rick's new brave new world that he's creating. And then Negan steps to the plate and he's like, no, do you really want to go back to how shitty, you know, my regime was? No, you dumbasses. Negan is like, and it's like, I love what Robert Kirkman did with Negan. Negan has actually changed, and you finally see it in this volume. You finally learn that Negan is actually learning from his mistakes, and he wants to prove himself, and I love that. So many amazing moments in this. This is honestly an outstanding one. I love it. If I did a recount of these volumes, I might even put this higher. But anyway, that is this one, A Certain Doom. Brilliant stuff, right? Now that I've talked you to death for this one, let's move into the number 6 spot. Alright, number 6 spot, it has to be this one. This has to be mentioned in the top 10 at least. Come on. Rest in Peace, volume 32. I think the main reason why I'm sticking this so high on the list is, obviously, spoiler warning, Rick's death, you know, halfway through as well. It's not even at the very last page, it's halfway through. Plus, it's the thickest one of all. It's like the size of like 3 run-of-the-mill volumes. It's like 3 times the size. The reason why I love this volume so much is because of the flash forward. 50, 60 odd years, I think, where it shows Carl as an old man, and he's and it shows how society has moved on and how it's flourished after the apocalypse, and it shows this giant network of communities that have like the Commonwealth, obviously, and then the Kingdom, Alexandria, Hilltop, all them. Shows how time has passed and shows how everybody's moved on and zombies aren't really a threat anymore, or walkers, sorry. God, can't get that wrong. Yeah, and obviously you have basically catching up with everybody. And to be honest, the whole flash forward bit with Carl being older, that could have been a volume in and of itself, but I like that it's not, because it just wraps everything up into a neat bow, you know, how everybody felt and how everything worked out after Rick died, you know. His death symbolized how life needs to move on, move forward, and I love that. But yeah, I think for the most part this is the ending that I think we needed, and it is the ending that I think I wanted after all this. After I read the "This is all over" like epilogue thing that Robert Kirkman wrote in the back end, where it's like why I wanted to end it, and at the end he goes, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's really over. Signed, Robert Kirkman, P.S. Negan Lives," which is a teaser to the spin-off comic that he made for Negan Lives. And I'm telling you, I read that sort of end piece of him explaining all of it to us. I actually cried. I honestly cried, and I understood immediately why. Honestly, superb. I love this one. Now, number 5 on the list. We have the first ever volume, Days Gone By. This one obviously has to be mentioned in here. It's so nostalgic to look back at the start. I love it. Obviously the artwork for this one is a bit jarring, going from looking at Tony Moore's art all the way to Charlie Adlard for the rest of the series. But I do love it. It's really nice, got good charm to it. It's just Rick looking for Laurie and Carl, going into Atlanta, finding Glenn, meeting up with Shane and the people at the campsite, and it's just a great thing. And then the big moment where he has to where Shane dies at the end. It's just a really, really good one. It's just a classic Walking Dead. Everyone knows this one's great. You know, this is the perfect like pilot episode of the comics. It is superb. It sets everything up perfectly. Tells you exactly what this series is going to be about: heartbreak and zombies. All right, moving on to number 4. We have Life and Death, volume 24. Obviously, the threat for the Whisperers is becoming more and more prevalent at this stage in the story. Everything comes to a head with the Whisperers, and then the fair happens. Anybody who knows The Walking Dead knows what the fair means for The Walking Dead. Rick and the gang go and confront Alpha, and Alpha shows Rick her mega horde, her zombie apocalypse nuke, as it were, which obviously tears down Alexandria in later volume 28. And she goes, if you ever cross us again, I will unleash this horde upon you. If you ever cross our border. And he's like, what's the border? And she goes, you'll see it on your way back, don't you worry. So, and it just look, you know what this is. If you know Walking Dead, you know what this is. This is why this volume's so high. And they kill off so many characters here. It's so heartbreaking. And you didn't expect it as well. But yeah, they literally mark the border with pikes with their friends' heads, their decapitated heads just shoved on top of it. So shocking. When I read this, I had no spoilers for this moment, and I was just... I was speechless. I was absolutely speechless reading this through. I could not describe it. With that said, let's move on to the honourable mentions. I have a few of them here, so these are just the ones I would have put on the list if it weren't for a few outstanding ones that I've just mentioned. We have Volume 5, The Best Defense, which is good. It's obviously, the main moment is really because it's the instruction to the governor. It's the moment where Rick gets his hand cut off. Next we have The Calm Before. Stuff in the prison gets really tense, and Laurie gives birth, and Dale gets bitten in the leg. It's just a really jam-packed volume, so that's why I like it a lot. Next we have Here We Remain. It's not a particularly memorable one, but I just really enjoy this one because it comes from the fallout of the volume that comes before it, volume 8. You know what I'm talking about if you've read the comics. But yeah, this is just the fallout from it. It's just following Rick and Carl for the most part. You see Michonne in there towards the end as well as a few others. But most of the original, characters, they're not in this one, But yeah, this is an exciting one as well. I really enjoy this one. It really explores Rick and Carl's relationship in that one, so that's why I like it a lot. Next we have Volume 10, What We Become. I mostly really love this one for the moment where Rick goes full savage mode and rips the neck out of that guy that's mugging them or whatever. It's such a great moment and I love it. There's no other real reason for it. It's just a really exciting moment, and that's why I'd stick this one so high. Everything else is fun too, but it's just them on the road for the most part. Oh, and also the reintroduction of Morgan as well, who we hadn't seen since the first volume. So Morgan's reintroduced in this one, which is another great thing about it, so because I love Morgan. Next, we have March to War, Volume 19. I mostly love this one because of the raid that happens on Alexandria towards the end, and Andrea nearly dies. She's in the bell tower and she's about to snipe Negan, and then one of Negan's henchmen come up and just beat her to a bloody pulp, and she nearly dies. And you think she dies, and then when Rick comes to investigate what happened, she's fine. She survived. She's a trooper. Really exciting one, that one. Love that one. And obviously it's the lead up to All Out War, so it's gonna be a good one if it's a lead up to All Out War. Speaking of, we have All Out War Part 2, Volume 21. Not as good as Part 1, nowhere near. I feel like the second half gets a little bit drawn out. It's still great, but a lot of it is just recuperation from the excitement and chaos that happened in Part 1 of All Out War. The confrontation at the end with Rick and Negan is a really exciting moment, so that's why I love this one so much. As well as that, it's All Out War. Everyone loves All Out War. It's such a great storyline in the comics. They did it so dirty in the show, oh my god. Anyway, right, final honourable mention. Call to Arms. Nothing particularly, outstanding about it. It's just a really exciting, above average run-of-the-mill, volume. It's really good. You have seeds for the Commonwealth being laid there with Eugene and the radio. You have the Whisperers being really terrifying, and it's the best part of the Whisperers, arguably, because you don't know where they are, you don't know where their base is. They've just killed like 20 characters off from the Whisperers, and it's just a really threatening time for the series, because you don't know who's going to be safe and who's going to be killed off at this point. This is a big one for Dwight as well. Dwight is in this one a lot. I like Dwight as well, so. And then obviously at the end, Negan, kills Alpha. It's a very exciting moment at the end to top this one all off. It's a very solid one. Not memorable, but it is exciting, and it is quality. It's quality storytelling, and I love that one for that. Right. Moving in to number 3, we have Volume 11, Fear the Hunters. The one with the cannibals, yeah? You remember that one? Everyone does. Where Dale gets kidnapped and he's missing a leg. Scary shit, let me tell you. Obviously you have the stuff with the twins and Carl, and you realise at the end of it, Carl was the one who put down one of the twins because one of the twins killed the other twin. So Carl was like, these people are dangerous to have around. And this is the start of Carl's arc, arguably. I think this is where Carl begins his dark, sort of path, Love this stuff. It's so exciting all the way through. Plus the cannibals, they're so creepy. And I like they didn't overuse them. They just had them in this one-off volume, and that's perfect if you ask me. Don't overdo them. Just sometimes short but sweet is the best way to do it. And I love how at the end when Rick and the gang finds the cannibals after they've already, taken a leg off Dale. And Dale's been bitten, obviously, so poor Dale, he dies. You don't get to see it, but you get to see the aftermath of what Rick and the gang do to the cannibals. It is dark stuff, honestly, really dark. And exciting as well. Exciting all the way through. I love this one. Also the introduction to Father Gabriel as well, so. Alright, number 2. These next 2 spots should be obvious, but I'm just gonna explain why anyway. Number 2, we have No Way Out, Volume 14. Giant mega horde swarming all of Alexandria. Think about that. So many characters die in this. Let me just think here. Which characters die? We see the death of Morgan, which is huge. You see the death of Jesse and her son Ron. Obviously the death of Paul Monroe. He's shooting shots in the air as he's getting ripped apart by zombies. And one of those bullets shoots through Carl's eye. That is shocking stuff. You think that they've just killed off the main character's son. They're pulling no punches in this one, and it's action-packed all the way through. I love this one so much. Oh my god, just look at that. Just look at that. You can't tell me this isn't a haunting panel. I always go back to this one if I'm just after a really exciting, action-packed, scary volume of The Walking Dead. This is the one to go for. It's the best zombie-centered volume, If you're just after a zombie apocalypse, horror, this is the best one to go for. The zombies, everything. It's just so, so good. Now, the number 1 spot. Everyone who's read the comics knows what this is. I said earlier, if you're gonna commit to reading the comics, you've got to get to volume 17. If you're not gonna get to volume 17, you at least have to get to this one. Everybody who ever recommends someone The Walking Dead wants them to reach this point in the series, at least. It is volume 8, Made to Fucking Suffer. Now, let me tell you a story, okay? Let me tell you a story. Rick and the gang reached a prison, a safe haven. They meet this guy called the Governor, who runs a little place called Woodbury. Obviously they went there and things didn't go so well. Enter this one. Tyrese is captured. What are they going to do? Who knows? Let's set up a plan to maybe save Tyrese. Oh, no, no. Governor's come back with Tyrese. Wait, what's he doing? Why is he naked? Oh, what? No! They're cutting off Tyrese's head. What the fuck? No! They couldn't kill off Tyrese. Tyrese is like the second main character at that point in the story, which is true, by the way. Shit, now they're shooting up the prison. Oh shit, they killed off Axel. Oh, they're running through the fences. What's going to happen next? The prison isn't well fortified anymore. What can happen? Oh shit, Patricia, she's dead now. No, not Patricia. I like Patricia. Quick, Herschel, run. Billy's right behind you. Oh no, Billy. No, Billy's been shot as well. No. Oh no, now that nurse died as well. We liked that nurse. She was cool. She helped them. Oh no. What happened? What, Laurie? No. Laurie's dead too. With the baby and everything, no! Just so much fucking death, and then Carl and Rick have to survive, and then, oh no, zombies, and then, oh god. Oh, and then Herschel, oh no, Herschel's dead. So much death, just so much destruction and death. This is just a thrill ride all the way through. Shocking stuff, absolutely just brutal stuff. They kill off more than half of the characters here. Just absolutely brutal all the way through. Honestly, when I first read this, traumatizing. Not even an exaggeration there. Traumatizing is the only way I can describe this one. Anyways, with that said, that'll be this video. If you agreed with my picks, let me know in the comments, and if not, and you have a better top 10 than me, put it in the comments. I'd really like to know what you thought about what were the best top 10 comics, you know, all that. But yeah, that'll do it. And I'll see you guys in the next video very, very soon. Goodbye.